Welcome to the channel. In this video, we will see how we can write a C program to display this star pattern. We will see how we can construct the logic for this, how we can write the code, and then how we can modify this and get different variations. So here, what I have done is I have divided this pattern in terms of rows and columns. So if I start counting this, then I can say that this is the first row, this is the second row, third row, fourth row, and fifth row. And then similarly, I can say this is the first column, second column, third column, fourth column, and fifth column. Now here, I can count it however I want. For example, here, in order to make the logic of this program easier for beginners, what I will do is I will start counting the rows in reverse order. So I will say this is the first row, this is the second row, this is the third row, this is the fourth row, and this is the fifth row. In order to simplify the logic, in order to construct this pattern, I'm simplifying this. That doesn't mean that if you count something like this, you will not be able to form the logic. You can write the program, but if you follow this particular counting method, the logic will be simpler so that all the beginners can understand. Now if you look at this pattern, what information that we can get out? The first thing that we can see is number of rows present in this pattern, and that is equal to 5. And then we can see how many columns that we have to display for a particular row. Now, if we look at this particular pattern here, then I guess you guys can say in the row number 5, we have to display 5 columns. In the row number 4, we have to display 4 columns. In the row number 3, we have to display 3 columns. Now, since I started counting the row numbers like this in reverse order, the logic is straightforward. Otherwise, you have to say in the first row, we have to display 5 columns. In the second row, we have to display 4 columns. So you have to come up with a different logic. But here, since we have counted these rows in reverse order, it is straightforward. We can easily say in a particular row, whatever the row number is, we have to display that many columns or that many stars for that row. Okay, that is the important thing that I want you guys to remember here. So now when we talk about displaying anything on the screen, how we are going to do that? What we have to do is in the first line, whatever that we have to display, we have to display that. In this case, in the first line, we have to display 5 stars if this pattern is going to consist of 5 rows. Then we have to go to the next line and we have to display whatever that we have to display for that particular line. In this case, it will be 4 star. Then we have to go to the next line and we have to display whatever that we have to display. So it will be 3 stars and then it will be 2 stars and then it will be 1 star. So this will complete this pattern. Now, if you understand this particular part, programming this will be a lot easy. So now let us see how we can write the program for this. So here what I have done is I have created a small C program. I have included the stdio.h header file and then I have written the main function. So this main function is the entry point of our program from our perspective. So the first thing that we do is we will define a variable and we will store how many rows that we have to display for this pattern. We will ask the user and we will get this value. So here I will use the variable of type integer and I will call this as num rows and I will initialize this with a value of 1. And after that, we will use the printf function. We will ask the user to enter the number of rows for which he wants to see this pattern and then we will read that value. So it will be printf and here the message will be enter the number of rows and then we will use this scanf function and we will read the value. So the format specifier will be %d and we will store that value in our numRows variable. Okay, so now we know for how many rows we have to display this pattern. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to display this pattern. Now here the number of rows will depend on the user's choice. what we do is we will use a loop in order to construct that. So here I will use a loop, and I will call a variable here, and I will call it as row. This is for every row that we have to display. And the row number here will start from the total number of rows that are present in this pattern. For example, here in this image, if this pattern is going to contain 5 rows, then the first row will have the row number 5. Second one will have the row number 4. So the first row number will be equal to the total number of rows that are going to present in this pattern. So the total number of rows that are going to present in this pattern is entered by the user, and it is available in this numRows variable. So here we will initialize this row variable with the value from this numRows. And then the question is how long we want to run this loop. We want to run this loop up to whatever the row number that the user has entered, that many times. So the condition that we will form here will be, as long as this row variable contains a row number which is greater than 0, we want to run this for loop. And then what we want to do after completing one particular iteration, what we want to do, we want to decrement the value of this row number. So now if I use a printf function, and if I display this row value that we get, it will be %d format specifier. And if I refer the row variable here, what happens is it will say enter the number of rows. If I enter 5, we will get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So here it will give us 5 rows. But the thing is, here every row has to be in a separate line. For that, what we do is we will use the printf function, and we will insert a new line after displaying the contents for a particular row. Now I will save this program and I will run this again. Enter the number of rows. I will say 5, and now you guys can see we get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but all of them are appearing in a separate line. Now here the next thing is what we have to do. We have to display whatever that we have to display for every column for the row. And again here the number of columns that we have to display for a particular row will depend on the row number. We will again use a for loop. So I will use this for loop, and I will initialize a variable, and I will call this one as column, and the column number will begin from 1. And then the question is how many columns that we want for a particular row. That will be depending on the row number. So if you look at the image here, in the row number 5, we have to have 5 columns. In the row number 4, we need to have 4 columns. In the row number 3, we need to have 3 columns. So the number of columns that we need for a particular row is equal to row number. So here the condition will be, as long as this column variable contains a value which is less than or equal to the row number. In this case, the row number is available in this row variable. And after that, what we want to do after displaying one column, we want to increment the value of this column variable. Now what I will do is I will use a printf function, and I will display in this case, let us say column number. So it will be %d, and I will refer the column variable. Okay, a simple program. Now I will run this file. Now it says enter the number of rows. I will enter 5. Now you guys can see we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Now here, if you want to make it look pretty, you can insert a space after displaying this number. If I run it again, and this time I will enter the number of rows as 6, it will appear in a much better, way. Now the next thing is, instead of this number, we can display whatever we want. For example, we can have a star in here. So I will use the star, and then I will insert a space, and after that I will save the program and I will run this. And this time I will enter 8 rows. Now you guys can see we get this pattern. Now we can display whatever we want in this pattern. For example, instead of displaying the column number, if you want, we can display the row number. So here I will say %d space and row. So if I run this, and this time I will enter, let us say 5, we get something like this. Similarly, if you want, you can display row number along with the column number, or if you want, you can display row number plus column number, or row number multiplied by column number, or any other value multiplied by any other value. So you can do many different variations with this same code. Now I want you guys to experiment with this code, try to display different things instead of the star or any other single character. And if you get any doubts, then post that in the comment section. I'll try to help. So this is it guys for this particular video. If you like it, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. If you have anything to say, write that in the comment box. For more tutorials, subscribe to the channel.